Okay, so I'm going to show you how to repeat your code so that the program doesn't just end after one button is clicked and then you have to run the program again to check another button. We want to have the program continuing to check for any buttons that are pressed and then displaying information and then going back and checking again. Okay, so at the moment, once you click on a button, it ends. So what we want to do is once we get to the bottom of our code, so let's say down here, once it gets to line 12 in our code, so if the first line is, so if the button clicked is the dragon dance, it will do these lines of code. It will then check if the button is the big-headed Buddha. Now, it can't be this one because the first button was already clicked, so it can't be the big-headed Buddha, so it'll skip this line. It'll skip lines 10 and 11. So what's going to happen is get to line 12 and it will end. What we want to do is to go back to another place in our code and continue the code from there. So once we reach line 12, where do you think, which line number of code would be good to go back to so that the code can continue and check for another button? So the correct answer is going back to line 5. Okay, so we don't need to go back and draw the images again because they were already on the screen. But we do need to go back to line 5 and wait for the button to be clicked again. Okay, we can't just go back to line 6 because we want Python to wait for the next button to be clicked. So we need to go back to line 5. Okay, so ideally we want to go from line 12 back to line 5. So the way we're going to do that here is we're going to use a special feature in this version of Python. This is not an official feature in the normal Python, but it's something that we've added to make things a little bit easier for you. We can't use line numbers because that's not how this thing works, but what we can do is add a label. So it's kind of like adding a bookmark to somewhere in our code that we would like to go back to. So just like how you might read a novel and you put a bookmark in your book once you're done, okay, we're going to do the same thing. Except we're going to put a bookmark in our code, and we are going to put the bookmark just before the line of code that we want to go back to, okay? So we want to go back to this wait for button click line of code, which was on line 5. So that means we are going to put a bookmark before the wait for button click line of code, okay? So the way we put a bookmark in our code is we're going to type the word label. So it's a label, press space, and then a full stop, and then we're going to give this label or this bookmark a name, okay? Because in our code later, we can have multiple bookmarks, so we need to tell them apart with different names. So this one, we are going to, I don't know, let's call it buttons, okay? That's the name of our bookmark, label buttons, and then down here, so now it's line 13, we just want to go back to this label and continue down from our code. So it's going up, down, up, down, up, down in a loop, okay? So it's repeating itself in a loop. So in line 13, we are going to use, make sure it's right back up against the left margin here, goto, the word goto, which is going to cause our program to jump to another part in our code, and then we are going to use the name of the label, which is buttons. Okay, so it's going to get here, and then it's going to jump back to where the buttons label was, which is here, and then it's going to continue down with the lines of code again. We get here, jump back to here, go down, wait for the button to get clicked, check the buttons, go back, wait for the next button to get clicked, check for the buttons, go back, wait for the next button to get clicked, and check for the buttons. Okay, so if we check this now and run it, you can see
played by a person with a laughing mask on his head and a fan in his hand, guides and plays with the lion.
Okay, so it's doing that one, and then I can still click on the dragon dance because now we've gotten to this and we've gone back up here and waiting for the button, click again.
A stunning performance by a local youth group who brought energy and excitement with a vibrant dragon dance.
Okay, and then we can go back and click on the big-headed Buddha again.
The big-headed Buddha, played by a person with a laughing mask on his head and a fan in his hand, guides and plays with the lion.
Okay, and we can click on the dragon dance again.
A stunning performance by a local youth group who brought energy and excitement with a vibrant dragon dance.
So that's how we can use the labels to put a bookmark in our code and use the goto word to jump back to that bookmark so that we can repeat bits of our code over and over again. And in this case, we want to repeat waiting for buttons, and then checking for what that button is, and then going through and doing that again. So that's how we can get multiple buttons displayed in our image, check for different buttons, and then continue checking for the buttons after a button has been clicked.